I can still hear the sound of laughter echoing in that ballroom. My veil was barely pinned, my bouquet still fresh, when my new sister-in-law, Claire, clinked her glass and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Guess we'd better hope the cake doesn't run out. We all know who'll want seconds." The crowd roared. Cameras flashed. And I just stood there, frozen. I felt the blood drain from my face. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, I was the punchline. My husband, Ethan, just shifted uncomfortably and didn't say a word. In that exact moment, something inside me snapped. I smiled through my tears, but in my head I promised myself they would regret ever humiliating me on my wedding day. Before that humiliating moment, I honestly thought I had the perfect life. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, the kind where everyone waves when you drive by. I met Ethan 3 years ago at a local coffee shop, and he was everything I had ever dreamed of: kind, funny, and the first man who made me feel truly beautiful. When he proposed, I cried tears of joy. Planning our wedding felt like a fairy tale. But there was one thing I always ignored: the subtle tension whenever I was around his family. His sister Claire had this way of smiling at me that wasn't a smile at all, more like a silent dare. His mother, Diane, was polite but distant, always commenting on my big appetite at family dinners. I told myself I was overthinking it. Ethan assured me they just needed time to warm up to me. Then came the wedding day. I spent months choosing every detail: the flowers, the playlist, the cake, because I wanted everything to be perfect. Walking into that reception, holding Ethan's hand, I felt like I was stepping into a dream. And then Claire made her joke. In one instant, my dream turned into a nightmare. Everyone laughed, but I saw it, the smug little smirk on her face. It wasn't just a joke. It was a message. I wasn't welcome. That night, after the guests had gone and the lights were out, I sat on the edge of our hotel bed in my wedding dress, staring at my reflection. My mascara was smudged, not from happy tears, but from holding back sobs. Ethan tried to comfort me. "Claire didn't mean anything by it," he said softly. Those words cut deeper than Claire's joke ever could. I wanted him to be furious, to defend me, to march right over to his sister and demand an apology. Instead, he shrugged it off like it was nothing. I cried quietly into a hotel pillow that night, feeling completely alone. My own husband didn't seem to understand the humiliation I felt. This wasn't just a silly comment. This was my wedding day, the moment I had dreamed about since I was a little girl, and they had turned it into a joke. For the next few weeks, I plastered on a smile for Ethan, but inside I was crumbling. Every time I thought about the laughter echoing through that reception hall, my stomach twisted. I replayed the moment in my head, imagining all the comebacks I should have said, all the ways I should have stood up for myself. One afternoon, I was scrolling through the wedding photos when I saw it, Claire's smug grin frozen in time as she made her toast. My hands trembled as I zoomed in on her face. The anger that had been simmering in me for weeks finally boiled over. I realized I had two choices. I could stay quiet, let them walk all over me for the rest of my life, or I could show them exactly who they were dealing with. That night, I made my decision. I didn't announce my decision out loud. I didn't even tell Ethan. Instead, I started really watching his family. At dinners, I noticed how Claire loved being the center of attention, how she constantly posted about perfect family moments on social media, always fishing for compliments. I noticed Diane's obsession with keeping up appearances, her insistence that their family be seen as classy and elegant at all costs. Every time I caught them looking at me, waiting for me to cry or break down, I smiled. I let them think I was over it. I let them think I had forgiven and forgotten. But inside, I was making a plan. If they wanted to humiliate me in public, then my payback would be public too. It would be smart, flawless, and unforgettable, a moment they couldn't laugh their way out of. I started gathering little details, small secrets they probably thought no one noticed. I didn't know exactly how I'd use them yet, but I knew one thing for sure. The day would come when I'd make them eat their words. I picked the perfect stage. Claire's welcome home dinner, a fancy family gathering at the country club where she loved to preen. Everyone would be there. Diane and her pearls, extended relatives who ate up Claire's every word, and Ethan, blissfully unaware that I'd turned their little party into my battleground. I volunteered to help with the evening's presentation. Harmless, I said. Claire beamed. She loved being in charge. They handed me the laptop and the microphone, believing I was nothing more than the dutiful new wife. I started the slideshow. At first it was what they expected. Tasteful photos of family vacations, polite smiles, crystal glasses catching the light. Then I hit play on a different file. The screen flickered, and suddenly the room filled with a clip from my wedding, Claire lifting her glass, the exact moment she made that cruel joke, the laughter ringing out like a slap. Faces went still. I didn't stop there. The next slide showed texts and voice notes Claire had sent friends, mocking other women, calling them attention seekers, and laughing about the games she played to keep people small. There were screenshots of Diane complaining about the cost of appearances and a voicemail where Claire bragged about using someone else's misfortune as entertainment. Each image, each sound, landed like a stone. Claire's smile dissolved into a gasp. Diane's fingers clutched at her throat. Whispers spread through the room like wildfire. Someone asked, "Is this?" And the silence that followed was heavier than any laugh. Ethan stared at me, searching for anger or hurt. Instead, he saw steadiness, the calm that comes after you decide you'll no longer be trampled. I held the microphone and felt something break open inside me. The shame that had lived there for weeks spilled out and was replaced by fierce, bright relief. Claire ran from the room. Diane tried to stammer apologies that sounded rehearsed and false. The family's laughter had been replaced by stunned, scrambling excuses. For the first time since the wedding, the power shifted. I felt vindicated, not because I'd hurt them, but because they could no longer pretend the truth didn't exist. After that night, I finally slept peacefully for the first time since our wedding. The weight of humiliation I had been carrying around for weeks seemed to vanish. Looking back, I realized my revenge wasn't just about embarrassing Claire or Diane, it was about reclaiming my voice. They had turned my wedding day into a spectacle, laughing while I stood there silently. That night at the country club, I wasn't silent anymore. People often think revenge is about hurting the other person, but for me, it was about proving to myself that I mattered, that I deserved respect, that I didn't have to stay quiet just to keep the peace. Ethan and I had a long talk afterward. He admitted he should have defended me and that he had been afraid of causing drama with his family. I told him that staying silent was the drama. It had nearly broken me. Claire sent a half-hearted apology text, but honestly, I didn't need it. I had seen the shock on her face, heard the whispers from the family who had once sided with her. She would think twice before tearing someone else down again. Revenge taught me something I'll never forget. People will treat you the way you let them. And I was done letting anyone make me feel small. Life after that night felt lighter, like I had stepped out from under a shadow. I decided to create some distance between myself and Ethan's family. No more Sunday dinners where I'd sit quietly while Claire made sly remarks or Diane criticized my choices. Ethan supported me, surprisingly fully this time. He started calling out his family when they made passive-aggressive comments, and for the first time, I felt like we were a team. Our home became a safe place where I could laugh again, without second-guessing myself. Word spread quickly about what happened at the country club. Some relatives called me brave, others called me dramatic, but I didn't care. I wasn't looking for approval, just freedom. And I finally had it. I also started taking care of myself in a way I hadn't before. Not to lose weight or meet anyone's expectations, but because I wanted to feel strong and confident. I joined a yoga class, found new friends outside of the family drama, and even started a small blog about self-worth and boundaries. Claire kept her distance after that. When we did cross paths at family events, she was polite, overly so, and never mentioned my appearance again. Diane learned to keep her commentary to herself. For the first time since marrying Ethan, I felt like I had built my own space, my own dignity. And no one was going to take that from me again. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting the other person. It's about reminding yourself that you deserve to be heard. That night at the country club wasn't about humiliating Claire. It was about taking back the power she stole from me on my wedding day. I'm not saying revenge is always the answer, but for me, it was the closure I needed. I finally stopped feeling like the shy bride who let everyone laugh at her. I became the woman who stood up for herself. What about you? Have you ever had to stand up to someone who humiliated you? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.